Live. That's right. We're live. What's up, everybody? Aaron Nagler here, Cheesehead TV, coming to you live from the Live X studio in Midtown Manhattan. It's Monday afternoon, the day after the Super Bowl. We're all undefeated now. The Chiefs are the champions. Everyone's reset to 0-0. Yeah, the Chiefs get to brag all offseason about their championship, and Packers fans get to soak up Bosa's tears. But other than that, the offseason is here. Michael, thanks for joining in. Hello to everybody joining in the comments. David, what's up? 19-0 Packers coming. I hear you. This offseason will really say a lot about Gutekunst with not a lot of money to spend big. There is something to that, the idea that they will not have the maneuverability that they had last season, but there's still some moves that could be made to kind of open things up a little bit. We'll see how that progresses throughout the offseason. Big ticket items, number one, you got to think Kenny Clark is on that list as far as people that will be paid. But we'll see how the rest of it goes down. Packers 2021. I don't know about all that. How about 2020, baby? What's up, Nags? What's up? Thanks for joining in. Thanks for jumping on and chatting some Packers with us. Uh, What's the projected cap space, James? It depends on the kind of moves they make in regards to Jimmy Graham and possibly cutting Jimmy and Lane Taylor, etc. I would suspect they'll be hovering around 45 million when all is said and done. The cap will undoubtedly go up at least 10 million, if not a little more. And like I said, along with a couple of possible personnel moves, they could be looking at a pretty decent chunk of change, but not anything near what some of the absurd levels we see. I think last year the Colts had 100 million. The teams have had around 70, 60, etc. They won't be approaching that. Thanks for all your hard work, Aaron. Rick, thank you for checking it out. Thanks so much. Do the Packers have cheerleaders? They utilize the St. Norbert cheerleaders at home games, but they have not had official NFL cheerleaders in quite some time. 17-week season, Teddy, you got to think it's coming. I know Richard Sherman had some things to say about it this week at the podium there leading up to the Super Bowl. It is a huge point of contention between the PA and the league. Obviously, the league wants to get to 18 games. That is their dream. I think the 17 game has already been dangled as a possible compromise, although it's no given. The players budging on that is going to take some considerable financial concessions from the league. But I do think, as Mark Murphy laid out last year or earlier this year, um, that is probably what they'll be kind of circling around throughout these negotiations. And I know there's been a lot of reportage around the fact that they could be close to an agreement, but I think I tend to think it's going to be a bit longer than maybe we've been led to believe through the reporting. But I do think a 17 game season is pretty inevitable at this point. It's just a question of what kind of concessions and or monetary value the players union puts on it. Dustin, thank you for the super chat. What is going to take to get Leroy Butler into the Hall of Fame aside from making the voters watch game tape? Ooh, don't get me started, Dustin. I got yelled at for being too emotional about this the other day. But, look, I just love the fact that, for years I have talked about the Pro Football Hall of Fame being not worth paying attention to because of its omission, both of Butler and Jerry Kramer. But obviously, they finally righted the wrong there with Kramer. But Sterling Sharp deserves to be in there. Tony Baselli's not in it. That's ridiculous. He's got to fight for his inclusion. He was up for consideration. They talked about him more than any other player this past session. He's not in the Hall of Fame. So when I say things like I don't pay, it's not worth paying attention. Not to Leroy Butler's case is a perfect example of why it's useless. Because if anybody watches the tape, they will see that Butler was absolutely far and away the better player for how he affected the game, for how he revitalized the safety position. Troy Polamalu going in on the first ballot is hilarious to me because Polamalu doesn't exist without Leroy Butler. It's like Troy Polamalu is Lady Gaga to Leroy Butler's Madonna. One does not exist without the other. I'm sorry. And this idea that, you've got to have a factual backing for you. The stats tell all. The Hall of Fame discussions are always centered around stats, which always drives me insane. But okay, fine. You want to talk stats? Leroy Butler blows Atwater out of the water in almost every single category. Yet Atwater is in and Butler isn't. What's the point then? What is the point? The tape is better. The stats are better. Butler's still not in over Atwater. Garbage. That's all I can say. But to answer your question, what will it take? Uh, I agree with my former colleague Ryan Wood in that this year was a good advancing of Butler's case. I did talk about this with Rob Domofsky on the latest Naglers Never Right, which just got put up on the Patreon page. So if you'd like, please go check that out. It is exclusive to our Patreon members. So if you'd like to join, it's $5 a month to support everything we do here at Cheesehead TV. Rob made a good point. Looking at next year's class, you got Woodson going in. He'll be a first ballot. You got a couple other probably first ballot guys. Not going to be a lot of spots available. So you got to think it's probably going to come down between Butler and Lynch again. And it sure looks like from early reporting of guys offering up who they voted for, Butler got a lot more Lynch got a lot more consideration than Butler did this time around, which is absurd to me. But here we are. So, yeah, what's it going to take? Probably a few more years, unfortunately. It's absolutely ridiculous, is what it is. We got super chats coming in. Lucas, thanks so much. Been watching our Super Bowl run, man. That was some good defense. It was indeed. That 2010 team really coalesced at the right time. Absolutely was a big key that a lot of people probably talk about. I think a lot of people remember Aaron Rodgers going ham in Atlanta or James Starks coming to life against Philadelphia, but the defense absolutely played a pivotal role, especially down the stretch. Let's see. Nujitsu, thank you so for the super chat. Nags, will there ever be another Cheesehead TV Google Hangout video chat for a draft with Andy Herman and company? You know, I'm not sure. I don't think there will be a Google Hangout this year, but we're working on something for the draft as we speak. We're trying to, we've put out a lot of asks so we know what we can and can't count on. And we'll reveal what we're going to do closer to the day. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have stuff going on here in New York. We're going to have stuff going on in Green Bay. The Packers are not having a draft party. So you're going to want to hang with Cheesehead TV. That's all I can tell you. Let's see. The 1996 Green Bay Packers are the greatest team in NFL. Oh, they're one of them. They're by far and away one of the most underappreciated. There's zero question about that. Packers beat the Super Bowl champs on the road last season with a rookie head coach. I get it that Mahomes didn't play, but it's a team sport. Just saying, go Pack, go. Corey, Banky got mad at me today because I also pointed out that not only did they not have Mahomes, they didn't have Chris Jones, who absolutely wrecked stuff for the Chiefs last night, and is about to get paid big time by somebody, if not the Chiefs. Yes, the Packers won in Kansas City. It was a great victory. We had a ton of fun, but I mean, let's slow down here. Without Jones on one side and Mahomes on the other, it's not like they beat the team that just won the Super Bowl last night. Can Mark Chmura ever make the Hall of Fame? No. Unless he's paying a paying customer. Unless NFL alumni get in for free. But yeah, no. As enshrined into the Hall of Fame, no. Have a draft party on a boat in Vegas fountain. That's a really good idea, actually. Imagine if Andy Reid became the Packers head coach instead of going to Philly. That'd been crazy, Michael, but I don't think that was ever in the cards. I mean, don't forget he was plucked from quarterbacks coach to head coach, and it was a big move at the time. Made a lot of waves. I don't think he was ever in line to be, to be the coach in Green Bay, but you certainly love the Packers ties. I loved Matt Hasselbeck tweeting out that photo last night saying congrats to Andy. That was good stuff. Good for Andy Reid finally getting his ring. Frank, I can't agree more. I mean, I was really pulling for him last night. It was great to see him get off the schneid, so to speak. You seem to be liking Kenneth Murray more and more at inside linebacker. Andy, I love him. He's my draft crush. No doubt about it. I want him in green and gold. Now, it's going to take a lot to have him fall down to 30 because I can't imagine Gutekunst trading up for the kid. But Yeah, I do. I like him a lot. His athleticism, sideline to sideline ability, great hips, great coverage, great job downfield in coverage. Yeah, I love everything about him. I think he would be an excellent addition in the inside of Pettine's defense. Now, that's not to say he's the only option, but to my eyes, right now, and it's very early, yeah, I absolutely love him at 30 if he drops that far. What is your take about none of the players getting awards? Travis, my take is that awards don't matter. And I think that is a perfect example of how team much more important than having the individual best whatever. Now, if you have one of those, is it helpful? Yeah, of course. I mean, you have a couple all pros, you have a offensive player of the year, etc. Yeah, but a lot of that is down to who the media watches, who does the best politicking, when they get hot during the season, how many national games were they on to infect the minds of people who vote on these things. I mean, there's so many different kind of levels to it, but ultimately, none of that matters. And that was very much behind what I tweeted out the other night, which of course then people were like, "Oh, would you take off?" and blah blah blah. And look, everyone's deserving. It's great. Everyone get your ice cream and your puppy dogs. I'm very happy for you. But ultimately, those awards mean nothing. They might mean something to the guys who win them because then they can talk to their agents who talk to the teams. Those things are helpful in contract negotiations. But when it comes to winning championships, they mean nothing, which is ultimately my take. Aaron, what is your off-season Madden training routine like? Playing a match a day. I did find it funny the barstool hangout that I did with Liz. She says at one point, she said, "You play a lot of Madden, don't you?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" She's like, "You talk about it all the time," which is true because I like equate lots of what happens on the field with what happens in Madden. Because look, is Madden real life? Of course not. But can Madden teach you things about the flow of the game, the rhythms of the game? Yeah, absolutely. Especially when squaring off against a human opponent. There's no question about it. But as far as like how I utilize Madden, I just play every day because I love it. I'm a sucker. What can I say? What happens if there is not a new deal with the NFLPA this offseason? Shh. We got a long way to go. Let's not even think about that. Let's not even speak it into existence. In fact, what are we talking about? I forgot the question. Anybody watching the XFL this Saturday? This guy. I'll be watching. I'm a lifelong New York, whatever that team name is. Guardians? Are we the Guardians? I don't know. I'm a lifelong fan, whoever they are. Percentage odds Packers draft a wide receiver in the first round this year. They have the longest drought in the NFL. 2002 was the last time they drafted a wide receiver. That's correct, Frank. It was one Javon Walker. I don't think they're great. I actually don't. I think because of the depth at wide receiver, it makes a lot of sense for them to wait. But if there's someone they love there, then I think they take him. But I don't think the odds are as great as maybe a lot of people think. Now, you're picking at 30, you're practically in the second round already. So if, like I said, if they love a guy, yeah, I can't imagine them not taking him, especially if it's someone with a ton of upside, speed, all the things that the Packers offense was missing this year. Could you actually see Ty Summers earning a starting role in the defense? Whew, kumquat. Let me tell you, it would take a big jump, big jump. Yeah, it's not that we haven't not seen it before, but Ty is a lot like a new puppy dog. He runs around a lot of energy, makes a lot of tackles, but also misses a lot. Now that's his rookie year. We will see what happens between year one and year two. I will say this: we'll probably know pretty early on during camp whether he's making a jump or not. But traditionally, not always, but traditionally, how those guys make that transition from year one to year two tells you a lot about where they're headed trajectory wise in the NFL. Um, I thought Ty was really active last summer, but very raw. And clearly, he made a lot of hay on special teams this year. Hopefully, off season into the summer and camp hones his skill a little bit, and we see a little bit more out of him. But I'd be absolutely shocked if he's your week one starter at inside linebacker. Do you think they will go to a 17 game season? Yes, Gary. Yes, I do. I think it's an inevitability. Casey shouting, do you believe Mason Crosby will be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done? Whew, that's tough. I doubt it, but he's got a chance. I'm not going to dismiss it out of hand, but I doubt it. Was Mahomes' Super Bowl run more impressive because they were behind every game over Rodgers? I mean, I don't know if that makes it more impressive. There's a reason you're behind, right? Um, and I didn't think he played particularly well last night. He made some big throws down the stretch, but the overall body of work last night was not terribly impressive. And I tell you what, if either one of those fumbles ends up in the hands of the 49ers, I think we're talking about very different things this morning, you know? But yeah, no, I don't know if it's more impressive, less impressive. He had a very impressive postseason. There's zero question about that. But as far as how do you quantify it? I'll leave that to better talking heads than myself. Agreed. MVP should have been Williams. I mean, he was a absolute candidate. I wish they could just give it to the offensive line because I think they were the real MVPs, despite the pressure that the 49ers were getting, which was considerable. Um, I think the run game, down the stretch in the passing game, I thought they really came to life. If year two is such a good indicator, what's that say about Burks? Bob, I think you just answered your own question. I've been saying all year you wanted to see a lot more out of him, a lot more development. He absolutely improved on special teams, but when you use a premier pick, you're hoping for a lot more than just a special teams contributor. Um, it doesn't look good for Oren Burks, is what I'm saying. I honestly thought Breeland should have been the MVP. Okay, now slow down. Slow down right there. Like, share, subscribe. Nick, good looking out, buddy. Thanks a lot. Does seeing what Williams did last night make you even more upset and run Jones more? Yes! Sorry to shout, but yes. Thoughts on Packers signing Taylor Lewan to replace Brian Bulaga? Man, I'd much rather re-sign Jared Veldier for a year or two than Taylor Lewan. And that's not to throw shade on Lewan. I think he's a fine player, but he's going to get paid big money, and I don't think the Packers should go down that route. I just pay Bulaga if that's the case. What position group could be improved the most in free agency? Whew, that's a good question. Maybe defensive tackle and or inside linebacker, only because I think you need one, as opposed to wide receiver where they need a bunch. And I don't think they're going to spend that kind of money in free agency. Austin, thanks for the super chat. I know it's early, but what wide receiver in the draft do you like the most for Green Bay to pick? Austin, not even close to ready to answer that question yet. I got a lot of names. I've seen a lot of highlight plays, but I don't know about their games at all yet. Ask me when I'm at Combine. I will be at the Combine in 20 days, and I'll have a lot more in the hopper, so to speak, when it comes to the draft prospects, just because I got a bone up for the Combine. But yeah, right now, I got nothing for you. Sorry. I know they need speed. That's the number one kind of, uh, I guess, what would you say, trait that they're looking for. Although, they talk every year we need speed, height, strength, blah, blah, blah. Explosiveness is the one kind of key area that I think they're obviously lacking at wide receiver. I think that's going to be a big key to their kind of, I want to say retrofitting, but that's the wrong word. Uh, Redesigning the wide receiver group. They need explosiveness across the board. BJ Raji to return in 2020. Eric, lock it up. No doubt. Hopefully the Clark deal gets done at the Combine. Michael, I think that's awfully early. That's not to say it's impossible because you're right. Agents, GMs, they definitely talk in Indy. And I think the groundwork could possibly be laid in Indianapolis during the Combine, but I would be surprised if the actual deal itself got done prior to the summer, probably leading up to camp. But hey, I'm always wrong about these things. So hopefully, yes, you're right. They talk, they get the parameters done, and they lock it up coming out of Indy. That would be great. As of today, does Kevin King get extended? Whoo, Brandon, good question. I doubt it, but we'll see what happens with Clark. I think they got to get. I would think they get Clark in kind of, in the hopper, so to speak, or in the fold, so to speak, with an extension prior to looking or locking up King. But who knows? And any of the guys who are like in the last year of their deal, Aaron Jones, etc. I would think Clark would be the first to the table there. But we'll see. Maybe Clark is ready to take a hometown discount, and they get him locked up earlier. But I tend to doubt it. I know. We'll see. What are your thoughts on Chandon Sullivan's season and his potential expanded role going forward? Some of the numbers when targeted are crazy. He had an outstanding year, Chase, especially considering he was a bit of an afterthought, signed in May from Philly. Really didn't expect a whole lot of him. He absolutely balled out this year. I am interested to see how much more playing time he can get with him and Campbell both slated to be back next year. Um, and then you've got, as far as a strict corner, you've got Kadar Holman, who I think showed real promise in the summer. Sullivan's obviously a tweener, so he'll play a bit of both, but um, that's a great problem to have. There's a lot of guys that you can deploy there. The big question to me and the big key is how much, if any, kind of adjustment does Pettine make going forward to his scheme in regards to getting run over in the NFC Championship game? Because every team is going to look at that, and every team is going to try not replicate it per se, but they're going to utilize a lot of the stuff that Kyle used in that game to try and exploit the scheme. How much does that mean that Pettine goes not completely away from the multiple defensive back stuff, but does the percentage that he uses it kind of dwindle? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm really interested to find out, though. All right, everybody, I'm going to have to jump. I can't thank you guys enough for all your questions. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to yours. There's a million of them every day, and it really means a lot that 262 of you show up and chat Packers during the offseason. We're in the first official day of the NFL offseason. It's a horrible thing, but we're going to get through it together. Like I said, check out, hey, look, right there. Rob Demovsky. I think this picture is from the day before the night before the NFC Championship game. But yeah, check out Patreon. If you haven't joined yet, all we ask is $5 a month to support everything we do, and you get exclusive access to Nagler's Never Right with my latest podcast guest, Rob Demovsky. We talked about the season. We talked about Leroy Butler. We talked about what year 2 and Matt LaFleur's system looks like, etc. Thank you guys so much for all the support. And hey, if you can't support us on Patreon, totally understand. Just do me a favor and hit like on this video and hit subscribe and tell your friends, tell your family. Cheesehead TV, we're devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow.